Is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, traders. Can you hear me and see my screen? If you could just type yes in the questions and we'll get started. All right, good morning. Thanks, guys. Okay, welcome to the Bookmap Platform Details webinar. This is Bruce at Bookmap. Risk disclaimer: trading futures, equities, and digital currencies involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. For more information about Bookmap and subscribing, go to bookmap.com. The subscription comes with education. There's a 4-part educational course that you have access to at any time. And then we back up all of that content in the course in the advanced order flow live webinars, where we analyze the market based on our education or course, and then start to anticipate future price movement. So those all start at 11 a.m. immediately following this webinar, and those are for subscribers. Okay, so you can learn about order flow and what Bookmap is visualizing for you, and then you can see it also in the live market. That's the concept. Okay, so let's go over to bookmap.com quickly and just kind of scroll through here for the new traders that are in the room. Just scroll down here. There's an intro video, information about Bookmap, and Bookmap for equities here I'll talk about in just a minute. And connectivity. So I'll stop here and define what Bookmap is. We are a visualization software trading platform. Okay, we are not a data provider. So for futures and for US equities, you will need to provide the data. For the GDAX exchange for digital currencies, we do provide it for free. All right, so that is subsidized. All right, connecting to Bookmap. Well, these are the different data providers that we support, and you can see that there's some platforms here. You can connect to the API of these 3 platforms for Ninja, TTX Trader Pro, and Interactive Brokers Traders Workstation. But we are a platform as well. So it's better to simply connect directly to CQG, Rhythmic, Gain, IQ Feed, Transact, or Dev Experts. Now this Dev Experts is for NASDAQ Total View, and I can scroll up here and I'll just, this is that Bookmap for equities that I mentioned. All right, so you can read more about it here, and some improvements are going to be made to that shortly in the next few weeks. The data feeds can become even stronger. All right, here are the different software subscriptions here that are available yearly or monthly. You get a 20% discount yearly. And then you can see there are basically 2 versions here, digital and global. So the digital, there's a free version. It's a live connection to the GDAX exchange. It's a full functioning Bookmap version. And then, the GDAX exchange is open 24/7, so you can always take a look there. The only thing is, though, is you get connection to only one currency at a time, and you're not able to record your data or replay it back or trade from the chart, and you only get this basic education here, plus the support is also limited. All right, now the digital plus version here for $29 a month. Oh, I'm sorry, this is the yearly cost. Let's go over to the monthly here. So $37 a month for the month, and you can trade right from the chart. You can record and replay your data. You get up to 20 different currencies, and you get that advanced education. The global version, so what global means here is it connects to everything. So it offers that connectivity for futures and US equities. You will need to provide the data for it, though, and it also connects to that digital version. All right, so you get the advanced education and full support. Now the global plus version over here, same as global, except that you get the addition of these add-on indicators that we put together. One is the ability to trade right from the chart, and then this other cache of proprietary indicators. Large lot tracker, for example, we're looking at specific players in the order book that have the majority of that liquidity. Okay, some imbalance indicators, 2 of them, and then there's iceberg detector. So again, specific players we're starting to identify using iceberg orders. Okay? And then there's also correlation tracker as well. And of course, you get the advanced education and full support. All right, so hop over to social media at bookmap_pro. You can see here we had just another video here released for liquidity, fake or real, determining that with a small video here, very short. And I'll go over those in just a minute here, and I'll show you what they are. So go over to the YouTube channel, and on the home page here, there are some playlists. There's the intro videos. If you're new, maybe watch some of these, get familiar. Some of the features and components, understand some of those. And then these order flow video snippets. This is where the rubber meets the road, where you're able to kind of focus in on the order flow and visualization capabilities of Bookmap and understand that order flow in a unique way. All right, so watch some of these videos. They're very short, and I think this is really where you'll start to improve or understand the order flow and able to improve your trading there. All right. Okay, so let's jump into Bookmap. Let's see here. Looking at crude at the moment, and I may go over this because this S&P, although we are getting some movement today, it just, yeah, we can go over the S&P. I guess it's just been really testing our patience for the last week. So we're getting a little bit of a movement though today. So maybe we'll take a look here and see what's going on. All right, so looking at the Bookmap chart here, so let's define some of these elements here on the chart. For a lot of you that are new here, this is going to look completely foreign. Okay, so let's go over this and start to understand it. It looks like there's a lot going on. It's really actually very simple and straightforward data. The heat map here is the new element that you probably are unfamiliar with. And I can take it off here and you know, it looks a little bit clearer now, right? But put it back on. And I just want to mention all it is taking the information here in the depth of market, your DOM, okay, all those limit orders on the bid and on the offer. We turn it into a heat map, and then we project it onto the chart historically. So you can see where they're bidding and offering, right? That's it's outside of the last traded volume. Okay, so you can see there's a lot of bidding down here around this 90 to 92 area. Market didn't take these guys on. It took them on here at 95, but did not take them on here. We get a nice little bounce up here, and they're getting really aggressive underneath here. And I'll cover this little structural element here in just a minute, and we're going to see this again and again in Bookmap. Anyway, let me start by taking off a bunch of these indicators, and we're just going to put on the main elements here in the Bookmap chart so that you can take a look right at them here and understand what we're displaying. Okay, the three elements are the historical best bid and offer. Okay, the volume that traded on that historical best bid and offer with these volume dots. And then the last element is that heat map that I just explained. Okay, so I'm going to take them all off, and we're going to put a candlestick chart on here. Okay, so 5-minute candlestick chart, we're all accustomed to this view. Okay, what's the issue though with this candlestick? Well, it's very opaque. We can't see inside this aggregated period. That's the problem. It's an aggregated period of 5 minutes. Okay, so we have no clue. It's a mystery what occurred in here. And we want to know this. Making important financial trading decisions here, we want insight to what's going on within these bars. So we very easily do that in Bookmap here by showing you just the historical best bid and offer. Okay, there you go. So this is really how price moved. And why is this important? Is because now you're able to see microstructure. Okay, very easily just by turning that on. And what do I mean by microstructure? Well, this is truly how this market moved. It started to trend down. You can see that it moved down, but then it consolidated. Okay, it broke that consolidation here, and it consolidated again. It came back up and tested this area and broke down again. Okay, so we're starting to understand really how these markets move. And this is what we go through in the educational course, starting to understand these microstructures and book sweeps and how we move from one level to another, because this works on all time frames. You can go to a monthly chart and you're still going to see these same structures. Anyway, ultimately, why did we come down into these areas here? Well, when I turn on that heat map, you'll see exactly why. Okay, why did it stop at this area? Okay, is it some magic number? No, it's because there's a lot of liquidity down here, and that's precisely why. And that's another level of opacity we simply do not have access to by looking at this current chart. Okay, so anyway, the understanding these microstructures are pretty key, breakage or breakouts or breakdowns of these areas is a new valuation of price of the instrument. You can see that we broke to the upside here. So we broke out of this little or bigger structural element here, okay? And we actually came down and bounced right off of it here, okay, where it retested and traders found value. They thought this was a deal. So we get a price movement to the upside here. It's just coming back down to test that same level right now. Okay, we'll get to the current market in just a minute. Now we can understand these movements within these candles, okay, very clearly. Now, what we really need to understand, though, is the volume, because that's what truly moves price. Understanding the volume here and how the volume interacts with the microstructure, okay? And you'll see it, the pattern again and again and again, that when that microstructure is broken, it's usually broken on big volume, okay? Because it takes a lot of volume to lift it up out of those areas, okay? And then if there's not a lot of volume and support that new understanding of valuation, okay, it will fail and it will come back into the previous valued area. All right, and that's why we look for a nice auction here with a lot of buying, lifting the offer up out of this structure. Okay, this is a pretty good example here. Anyway, these are some of the details that we start to go over in the advanced order flow webinar. All right, so now we can understand the volume within these structures. And let me just zoom into this area here because I just want to show you how simple this data really is. It's so straightforward. All it is, and let's just zoom into an area here and bring up the dot size. Okay, the red line is the best offer. The green line is the best bid. Now this is all historical, of course. Right? Now the green dots, what do they represent? This is a market buy. Someone crossed the spread. This is what happens when you hit the market buy button and you take liquidity off of the best offer. Okay, you're not providing it, you're taking it, and you're paying up for it. You're paying up the spread to be able to do that, and that's why it's the aggressor. Okay, so a red dot is market sell. Now you can see that this dot, for example, big dot here, and you want the exact specifications of the volume that traded here. Well, just hover over with this data tip tool, and it tells me the date, the very precise time, the liquidity on the ask at this price level, and then the volume. So this one here is for a volume of 15. Now let's zoom into this because there's probably more trades within this area here. Okay, because between each vertical dotted line right now is 1 second. So we're looking at some pretty precise areas here, but Bookmap records every single event that took place. And the way that these markets trade algorithmically, that's a big distinction. We're able to record every single market event. There is no aggregation of these events. So we'll continue to zoom in here and let's see this unfold here. So this is really what occurred here. All right, so we can see that there were 7 trades that took place here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And volume of 6, this one's volume of 2, volume of 1, 1, 1, 1, and then another volume of 3 over here. Okay, all makes up for a volume of 15. And I know this is precise. We're looking at a trades counter and a volume counter over here. 7 trades for volume of 15. Okay? We're down at microsecond level. These are millions of seconds, but these are truly how these markets trade. Okay, so now, but we don't trade at those levels unless you're trading algorithmically. So we zoom back out and we do visually or graphically aggregate that into a bigger dot. So that's what you're looking at. Now this dot here, you can see that about 3/4 of it is aggressive buying, but 1/4 of it was aggressive selling. So there's a big flurry of activity here, 242 volume traded here. So we had to kind of visually aggregate and give you the overall understanding by the size, the color, what really occurred here. So let's zoom into this area and you'll note how I pull apart all of those trades or all of those events, and we can see really precisely what occurred here. Okay, but you know, we don't really look at those levels, so we zoom back out and you can see what we're visualizing here for you in terms of volume. Very, very precise understanding. All the timestamps are right from the data source. Okay, plotted right onto the chart. Okay, now there's some big benefits to this. You know, the way that we record this data, non-aggregated data, and there's two big reasons, and compared to like a footprint chart, for example. Number one is your footprint chart is aggregated. Okay, it's going to show an aggregation in a bar or a rotation bar or time or volume or something. Bookmap does not. And what's the benefit? Well, now you can understand the volume within the microstructure. Okay, that footprint chart is going to aggregate that microstructure all in one big bar. So that's one. The other is the speed of the market, understanding the strengths of these moves and the speed at how they move. So for example, you know, look at this sideways consolidation and look at the speed and movement here. Very, very quick move. Okay, comes right back down, tests where it broke from. Okay, and then another pretty quick move here to the upside. Okay, with a lot of buying, lifting that offer up out of that area. That's the kind of insight that you're going to get in the order flow. Okay, you don't get that in your footprint chart. Okay, so you know, good volume, you know, strong move, pretty quick move. We don't even get a pullback yet. We probably do a little bit later. Yeah, we get a deep pullback to where it broke from down here, precisely where it broke from down here. Okay, this is very typical. We see this as a setup all the time. Breakout here, return back to it, and continuation. Okay, same kind of thing here. Actually went down and made a double bottom here, but the buyer stepped right back in. Anyway, that's the volume. Okay, so now let's go over the heat map, because this is the uniqueness here in Bookmap. The visualization with the volume and microstructure is as well, but really no one else is doing or recording the auction quite like we are here. All right, so let's take off the candlestick chart. It's just getting in the way. And let's go to the current market. Okay, here we go. And so let's go over the advantages here of this heat map. So we understand the volume. This is our third element here is this heat map. And what we're looking at, okay, so let's simplify this. To the right of this vertical white line is the current market. To the left, it's all historical. Okay, it's what happened. Okay, what is happening now and what could happen in the future is happening over here to the right of the vertical white line. Okay, so this is the current market or current best bid and offer here, and then you can see the last traded volume is this number. Here's our price ladder here, and then this is our depth of market. Let's zoom in a little bit more here. So you can see that all these contracts here, these numeric values, it's liquidity at these specific price levels. Okay, these are sellers. They want to deal and sell at these price levels, and they're waiting with their limit orders. On the bid, they're down here. Okay, they want to be buyers down here. This is truly what makes up the market, this auction, and it is an auction. Okay, so the the current depth of market, the dome, okay, is this is what your dome looks like. We call it the current order book here, as you can see. But the understanding the current auction is really important. You can start to gauge. Well, there's buyers down here. The sellers just not quite as interested, right? We see the buyers down here. We're just testing into them right now, and now they're getting aggressive here on that sell side, and maybe potentially a little bit of spoofing here. Okay. Anyway, the understanding this current market is key. Okay. Now we're coming back down, and looks like we want to test into maybe this high liquidity that we noticed earlier, around 90 to 93. Anyway, we'll keep an eye on it, and let me continue on and explain here. So the problem with the current dome and the current market is when these numeric values change, then we've lost our data. We don't know what happened there before. You're going to have to remember it. And there's all sorts of details that are very difficult to remember there to use that dome. And this is where a Bookmap makes it really easy for you, because in this window here, we take the same data, these numeric values, and we turn them into a graphical representation in the heat map. Okay, so what's the brightest area? Well, it's down here at 2690. It's orange. Here's the scale up here of the heat map. Okay, orange is the highest liquidity, and then all the way down to black, which is the lowest liquidity. All right, so takeaways from this. Okay, what do we do here? So when these new numeric values change, the heat map changes, and we just saw a nice little move here. Let me show you exactly what I mean. Okay, so we can see here that price is kind of going sideways. We know that down here at 95, there's 744 contracts, the most in the book at this moment. Okay, in this view, as we scroll forward, they trade right into it, and look at this. Someone pops in on the other side right here with 631 contracts. Very aggressive. Okay, and we find even more sellers. The reaction to this higher liquidity here and the skew in the auction, okay? and truly starting to understand now order flow, not just by the last trade, but by understanding the limit order book. Well, there is a lot of supply here. If buyers were interested in that supply, they would have come up and traded into it. Okay, in fact, they did not at all. They were repelled by it. And they stayed away from it. It's like, wow, there's a lot of supply. I'm not interested. It must be worth less. So they trade lower. Okay, but then this guy pulls here. Okay, so that happened really quickly, right? So he's in here, he pulls, and he's out of the market now. Now it's down to 320. Okay, so we can answer a question here. Okay, so what happened here really quickly? Okay, and I mentioned this is kind of a spoof type of activity here. Well, let's zoom in a little bit more. What occurred here is that this trader here was showing a lot of supply, wanted to be a seller up at this area here, and was not even tested. Okay, and then he pulls. So he really had no intent to trade up here. Okay, so this is like fake liquidity. Okay, no intention to trade. What about these guys down here at 26.95? Well, they clearly had the intent to trade. It's trading right into them. Okay, we had about 700 contracts here. Okay, and you can see they're trading right into it. Right, the sellers are hitting the bid right into that high liquidity, 605 contracts here. Okay, 84 have traded, and as we continue forward here, we see the total outcome. What traded down here? Well, actually, it's actually quite a bit less than that 600 that we were looking at earlier. It's 172. So he started to pull as well, or these traders here at this price level started to pull their liquidity, and not much of it traded, to be honest. Okay, as we go back Here though, we see the 414 overall here traded. Okay, all combined together, they swept the book lower below that area, and we have about 600 or 775 actually traded at that level, okay, at 95. All right, so now we have an understanding here that some of it was pulled, but ultimately for it to sweep through here, they needed a lot of selling pressure, and they had it. Okay, the sellers were interested. So we're making a distinction here. This was fake. This was real liquidity down here at 95. This is fake liquidity here at 96. And to be able to see that and understand it very clearly right away. Okay, and we continue to go lower here, down into this higher area of liquidity. So now this is kind of very close to current market. Okay, and understanding order flow within it. And what's real, what's fake, what are these traders doing, are they getting filled, and now what's the reaction to it? Do we start to see a slowdown in this move to the downside as they absorb that selling pressure? If we do, we're probably going to find some buyers here, and we're going to find these sellers exhaust out, and they may start to bid up here at higher levels, and we may get a reversal. It's something that we'll need to determine. But this is kind of close to that current market, okay? But because we take these numeric values here and project it on the chart historically, it allows you to zoom out and then understand order flow at a much higher time frame. Okay, so now we can see the behavior way back here, right after the 9:30 open, or right around 10 o'clock. Okay, and you can see that this is area of high liquidity. Okay, now look at the reaction to that high liquidity. Okay, we trade through this little area here, but they started to pull again in this area, as you can see, and they came right back in though. Okay, so they're still interested in buying down at this area. Okay, and look at the reaction to the price, or price has to it, or the traders have to all of these limit orders down here. Okay, so they're not willing to take them on, and we're getting a bounce here. Okay, maybe we're getting responsive buyers starting to step in, thinking that this is a deal down at this level. Okay, now we're starting to understand the auction not only in the current market but in the historical market, and we're able to use the depth of market here, the dome, on much higher time frames. You can just see, like, why did we stop up at some of these areas? Obviously, there's a swing high here from the cash session, and we breach it by a little bit, but why do we stop up in these areas? Well, we trade into the liquidity. We don't find any more buyers, and rotate back down. Anyway, these are just some of the basics in Bookmap, and I think this is a nice layer to add to your trading, because now you can see where they are in the book. You can really see why they're why price is stopping at some of these areas. Okay, now how to use it within your current strategies. If, like, you're a fib trader, for example, okay, well, maybe you'd want to line up your fibs with areas of high liquidity. Okay, does it align? If it doesn't, well, then that might be telling you something. Maybe you don't want to trade at that level. Maybe you're interested in other levels instead. Okay, so or candlestick patterns. You may see a nice candlestick pattern. Let's put that candlestick chart back on. Okay, and yeah, I mean, obviously we had our little double bottom here, but you can see some of the wicks here, some of the buying pressure, and obviously this kind of engulfing pattern, or this move to the upside and close above all of this trading activity here is pretty bullish. But if you wait for this candlestick to give you that entry, I mean, you're getting in way up here. Okay? Whereas you can start to get into some of these trades by understanding the liquidity and the microstructure and volume, like I was showing earlier, at much lower levels. Okay? Like, here's the break of this structural area here. And you can see, really, I mean, if you really want to get micro, and these are how all of these moves start. is by understanding these little microstructural areas and then the original break here, a retest right back here, and then continuation. Okay, so many different ways of understanding this and looking at this, but you can get in some of these areas down here instead of maybe some of these areas, like way over here, or even up in some of these areas here. All right, so optimizing your trading entries and exits by understanding microstructure and the auction. All right, well, if you're signed up for the next webinar, then we'll see you there. Else, let's call it a day, guys, and we'll catch up with you tomorrow, same time. All right, thanks for coming.